My parents ruined my life, so I took theirs apart piece by piece. I don't know what kind of person I am for doing what I've done, but I also don't care anymore. You can only set yourself on fire to keep others warm for so long. So this is the story of how I got even with the two people who should have protected me, my parents. They used to say I was the quiet one, the shy kid. What they didn't say was that being quiet was survival. That if I said the wrong thing, made the wrong face, failed a test, or cried too loud, I'd pay for it. And pay I did. In bruises, in cold dinners, in days locked in my room with nothing but water and silence. From the outside, we were the ideal family. My dad was a former cop turned security consultant. My mom was PTA president and ran a local business. Church every Sunday. Smiles for the neighbors. But behind the front door, it was all screaming, slamming, and sometimes worse. I started keeping a journal when I was 9. I would hide it in the vent of my bedroom wall. It was the only place they wouldn't check because they always assumed I was too stupid to think of things like that. I filled 6 full notebooks by the time I was 15, every beating, every punishment, every time they forgot to pick me up or blamed me for things I never did. They always told me, "No one will ever believe you. You're just a weird, broken kid." They were almost right. When I turned 17, I left. Not in a blaze of glory, just a bus ticket and a trash bag of clothes. I slept on couches, worked night shifts, clawed my way through community college, then university. I blocked their numbers, changed my name on social media, cut contact with every mutual relative. I thought I was free. But a couple years ago, I found out they'd been telling people I was the one who ran off after getting into drugs and stealing from them. That I was troubled, and they had done everything they could. They even went as far as setting up a GoFundMe to support their ministry for helping struggling young people, using my story as the poster child. They made over $40,000. That was the last straw. I made a decision then. If they wanted to rewrite the story, I'd make sure everyone knew the real version. And I had receipts. I started slow, patient, calculated. I already had those journals. I scanned every page. I tracked down my old elementary school teacher, the only adult who ever suspected something, and she remembered. She even kept a disciplinary report from when I came to school with a busted lip, and I said I fell. She knew I didn't. I went to therapy, got clean, coherent documentation of the PTSD and trauma. I pulled my medical records, which listed multiple ER visits for accidents that were never investigated. It was a paper trail they never thought I was smart enough to leave. Then I made a burner account on Facebook. I started posting the truth. Not rage, not accusations, just facts. Pictures of the journals. Redacted screenshots. Lines like, "When your ministry was locking your kid in the basement for 2 days because they didn't fold laundry, you weren't helping, you were hiding." Friends started asking questions. People donated to their GoFundMe less and less. Someone reported it for fraud. And I was just getting started. By the time they figured out it was me behind the posts, I had already emailed every local church that supported them with a full PDF file. I contacted the local news anonymously. I even got in touch with an attorney who helps abuse survivors file civil cases, especially when there's financial fraud or public exploitation involved. I haven't filed yet. Not yet. But I will. Because revenge doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes, it's just letting the truth breathe long enough to kill the lie. Update 1. The church turned on them, the GoFundMe was shut down, and my mom made a public apology, but not to me. This week, everything cracked. It started with an email. Not to me, but to their ministry's mailing list, which, thanks to my burner account and a very stupid subscribe now button, I had access to. The message was short, defensive, and frantic. It read, "Due to recent malicious and false claims spread online by an anonymous individual, we are temporarily suspending donations while we investigate the matter. We ask for your prayers during this difficult time." They didn't name me, but they were already bleeding. I had contacted 3 churches that financially supported them. 2 ignored me. 1, the largest and most influential, responded within 48 hours. A pastor called me. Not a secretary. Not a PR rep, the head pastor. He had read every word of the packet I sent. The journals, the teacher statement, the GoFundMe discrepancy, the screenshots of my mother using me as a cautionary tale. He said something I didn't expect to hear. If even a quarter of this is true, I'm so sorry. We never should have funded them. Then he took action. The church cut ties publicly. A statement went up on their website. It didn't name names, but it didn't have to. It said, effective immediately, church name will no longer be affiliated with the last name family ministry. Allegations have come to light involving misrepresentation and potential abuse. We are cooperating with relevant parties and taking all necessary steps to ensure accountability. Boom. That post went semi-viral in their town. The gossip blogs picked it up. Even their local news station ran a 3-minute segment about a once prominent community family under fire for alleged misconduct. They used a blurred photo of my parents on stage at a fundraiser. Someone commented, "I always thought something was off about them." I felt sick. Not because I regretted it, but because I finally wasn't alone. GoFundMe froze their campaign and flagged it for fraud. When I emailed GoFundMe, I provided screenshots, proof of abuse, and linked to the article. 2 days later, the page was down. My friend anonymously reached out to a few donors listed in public comments. At least 3 filed refund claims. I'm not sure if any of them succeeded, but the point wasn't just money. It was removal of their safety net, of their lies. Then, and this part almost broke me, my mom posted a video. Not on their ministry page. On her personal Facebook. A 6-minute teary-eyed monologue titled, "To Anyone We've Hurt." She never used my name. She never said the word abuse. She called it discipline that may have gone too far and parenting mistakes made in hard times. She said she loved all her children and hoped we could heal as a family. I laughed so hard I cried. She didn't cry for me. She cried for her reputation. Her comments were a war zone. Half the people were defending her, calling it brave, praising her honesty. The other half, not so kind. Someone posted, "If you cared about healing, you'd name your child and apologize directly, not performatively." That comment had 1.2K likes last I checked. Meanwhile, I've heard nothing from them directly. No call. No email. No letter. Only silence and damage control. Which is fine by me. Because this isn't about reconciliation. It's about truth. And truth has momentum now. Update 2 coming soon. I lawyer up. I wasn't going to, but then I found out something they didn't know I knew. Turns out the financial fraud goes deeper than just GoFundMe. And there's someone from their past, a quiet witness, who's ready to speak. They thought the worst was over. They were wrong. Update 2. I hired a lawyer, found an old ally, and discovered my parents stole even more than I thought. So much has happened since my last post that I almost don't know where to begin. But let's start here. I officially have legal representation now. And what started as a personal act of justice has now evolved into something bigger, potentially criminal. Here's how it all unfolded. After the church dropped them and the GoFundMe shut down, I expected silence. But what I got was leverage. My mom's crocodile tear video didn't go over the way she thought it would. Sure, a few enablers kept clapping, but the donation stopped. Their website traffic tanked. Local businesses that used to sponsor them quietly removed their logos from the community partners page. I thought that would be enough, but then I got an anonymous email. No subject line. No greeting. Just this. "You're not the only one they hurt. I have something you should see. Do you remember me? Check the attached file." The name wasn't familiar. The email was a burner account. But the attachment? A photo of a church youth retreat form with my name and another kid's name on it. Ben, age 12, next to mine. I hadn't thought about Ben in years. He was my bunkmate for 2 summers. He was quiet like me. I always had the sense he had secrets too. The email included a phone number. I called it the next day. Ben remembered everything. We talked for 2 hours. He told me he used to come over for dinner because his mom was a single parent working night shifts. My parents offered to mentor him. At the time, everyone thought they were good people, generous, charitable. What they really were doing, though, was using him as a fundraising prop. They filmed videos of him finding Jesus and overcoming his circumstances. They submitted him to local nonprofits as a success story. They had him read from a script at events, all while guilt-tripping him into staying quiet about the verbal and physical abuse they inflicted when the cameras weren't rolling. He was only 12. He said he blamed himself for years. That hearing my story made something click. That what he went through wasn't tough love. It was grooming, it was exploitation, and it was abuse. He's in therapy now. He gave me permission to share his story with my attorney. That's when I lawyered up. At first, I just wanted help protecting myself from defamation claims. I assumed my parents would eventually try to sue me. But when my lawyer looked at everything, the financial fraud, the testimonials, the manipulation of minors for monetary gain, he got quiet. Then he said, "We're not just talking about emotional damages here. We're talking about possible civil fraud and maybe even criminal charges, especially if we find proof of misuse of nonprofit funds." So I dug deeper. And that's when I found the bank statements. Not mine. Theirs. I had access to their financial records from a time when I was still a minor and was unknowingly listed on their joint account, something I only discovered because a notice from that bank had shown up at my college P.O. box years later. Yeah, they forgot to remove me. With a subpoena, we got access to old records. And guess what? They were siphoning money from their ministry fund into personal purchases. A luxury hotel stays at casinos, spa visits, a $5,000 furniture set labeled as a community outreach expense, and $1,200 to a tanning salon. My mom. Of course. This wasn't bad budgeting. This was theft, masked as holiness. My lawyer says we now have grounds for a civil suit and evidence to pass to the state's nonprofit oversight agency, and maybe even the IRS. We're moving forward. Meanwhile, people from their church have started messaging me privately. Some apologize. Some share stories. One woman said my mom pressured her into donating emergency rent support that, it turns out, never went to any family in need. Another sent me photos of my mom wearing designer clothes while preaching about humble living. The cracks are becoming craters. I wish I could say this feels good, that I feel powerful, but mostly I feel tired, grateful, and finally seen. For years, I was just the troubled child. Now I'm the reason the truth is out. Not just for me, but for others they used. Update 3. The lawsuit is filed. Discovery reveals even more lies, and my dad finally breaks, in the most unexpected way. This is the update I've been sitting on for a few weeks, mostly because things have moved fast, and I've needed time to absorb what's happened. Also, I didn't expect him to be the one to crack. But first, yes, we've officially filed the civil lawsuit. With everything, the journals, Ben's testimony, financial records, the scanned receipts, and the digital footprint of their GoFundMe fraud, we filed a multi-claim civil suit for emotional damages, defamation, and fraud. My lawyer says we have a brutally strong case. Their legal team tried to delay proceedings, but the judge wasn't having it. We're in discovery now, and what we've found, it's bad. Worse than I thought. They forged records. We subpoenaed documentation from 2 of the nonprofit organizations they claimed to have partnered with during their ministry work. Both said the same thing. They had never worked with my parents. Not once. One of the orgs even forwarded us the letters of partnership my parents had submitted in their grant applications. Those letters were completely fake. Forged logos. Forged names. Forged contact info. Sloppy Photoshop work, honestly. But it worked. They got over $12,000 in grant funding over 3 years from smaller regional faith-based groups. That alone is enough for criminal fraud charges, and my lawyer has already passed that material to state authorities. But that's not even the worst part. We also discovered emails, ones my mom sent from her ministry's domain, in which she actively discouraged other parents from allowing their kids to speak with school counselors or therapists. One email said, "Too many of these so-called professionals are wolves in sheep's clothing. They plant lies in your children's minds and turn them against the Lord and their families. This wasn't just ignorance. This was a deliberate campaign of control, of keeping kids, like me and Ben, isolated, afraid, dependent on them. It made me physically ill to read. And then came the most unexpected twist of all. My father broke. Not legally, yet, but emotionally. A week ago, he emailed me directly. It was the first communication I've had from him in almost a decade. No subject line. Just, I don't know how to undo what I've done. I won't pretend I wasn't part of it. But I want you to know, your mother lied to me too. About things I should have seen. About you. About the money. About Ben. She kept secrets even from me. I didn't know how to respond. I still haven't. Do I believe him? Partially. He was the enforcer. The one who stood silent when I cried. The one who slammed doors and walked away while she spun her manipulation into scripture. But maybe he wasn't the architect. Maybe he was another one of her tools. Or maybe he's just trying to save himself now that the heat is on. Still, he ended his email with something that hit hard. You were always smarter than us. You were right to leave. I just hope you can find peace someday. Whether or not it includes me. It doesn't. But maybe this is his beginning. Of accountability. Of something close to remorse. Where we stand now. The lawsuit is active and headed to mediation. State investigators are reviewing the nonprofit fraud findings. Multiple donors have filed refund demands and complaints. Ben has agreed to be part of a class action civil suit if it comes to that. My parents' ministry website has been taken down completely. Their empire of lies? Collapsing by the day. And me? For the first time in my life, I feel heard. And powerful. And unafraid of them. Final update. We settled. Their reputation is gone. Their money is drying up. And I finally walked away without looking back. This will be the last time I post about this. I've lived in the shadow of what they did to me for so long that I didn't know what life looked like on the other side. But I do now. And it's not revenge. It's freedom. Here's how it ended. Underscore 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 underscore. Mediation happened 2 weeks ago. It was intense. Surreal even. I didn't see them in person. We did everything virtually, via Zoom, with our respective lawyers. My lawyer advised me not to speak much, just to listen, to let the evidence and timeline we'd built do the talking. And it did. Ben's statement was submitted formally, along with those of 2 other former mentored kids who came forward late in the process. 3 separate families, all with eerily similar stories of godly discipline, spiritual manipulation, and financial coercion. One of them said my mom forced their daughter to fast for 3 days because she talked back. Another had proof that my parents used their family photos in a fundraising newsletter without their permission. It was clear by the end of that day, my parents had no defense left. They tried denial, then minimization, then silence. Finally, they agreed to settle. Underscore 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 underscore. The settlement terms are sealed, but here's what I can say. A 5-figure monetary settlement was paid to me, Ben, and 1 other family. They were required to formally dissolve their ministry and relinquish control of any associated branding, website domains, and materials. A public letter of apology was issued, drafted by our legal team, and posted to their previously used channels for a minimum of 30 days. They are barred from starting any new nonprofit entity in our state for 10 years. It's not prison, but it's accountability. And it's on paper. underscore 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 underscore. After that, things moved fast. Their former church community? Gone. Most people stopped speaking to them. They were unofficially blacklisted from 3 major local faith coalitions. Their donations? Dead. No one trusts them. Their GoFundMe history is now public thanks to media coverage. Their image? Shattered. Even extended family, who used to defend them blindly, now call me to apologize. My cousin, the golden child replacement, texted me, "I didn't believe you when I was younger. I do now. I'm sorry." And my dad? He emailed me again after the settlement. One sentence this time. "I don't expect forgiveness. But thank you for telling the truth. You saved more people than you know." Maybe he meant it. Maybe he's just trying to sleep better. I don't care. Underscore 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 underscore. Here's what I do care about. I moved cities. I started therapy. I finally bought a place of my own, not big, but mine. I changed my name legally last month. I chose a new last name that has nothing to do with them. It's a name I picked. And last weekend, I stood in my own kitchen with a small group of close friends, chosen family, eating birthday cake and laughing until we cried. No threats. No lies. No shame. Just life. Real life. Underscore 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 underscore. I know a lot of people followed this story hoping for a dramatic takedown. I won't lie, I wanted that too at first. But what I learned is that revenge doesn't feel like a fire. It feels like silence. Peace. A room where you can breathe and know that no one is coming to take that from you. They took my childhood, but I took everything else back. And now, they don't get to live in my head anymore. They're just a closed chapter in a book I finished writing. And this was the last page. Thank you, Reddit, for listening. For validating, for giving me back a voice they tried so hard to erase. I'm free. Thank you for stepping into another tale with me. Every story unlocks a different world, and I'm glad you were here for the journey. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my stories, Unchained, where every ending is just the beginning of another adventure. Until next time, keep your mind open and your heart ready for the next story, Unchained.